Have you ever felt that, despite fulfilling every role so well, a child, a mother, a lover, or a leader, deep inside, you've forgotten a part of yourself for far too long? There's a part of you, gentle, fragile, full of emotion, that was once so vivid when you were a child. But somewhere along the journey of growing up, that part was left behind. Carl Jung referred to this part as the divine child, the sacred child within each of us. For a woman, this child is the wellspring of feminine energy, unconditional love, instinctual intuition, and boundless creativity. But sadly, society, and sometimes even you, has tried to mold you into someone else, more rational, but also further from your true self. In today's video, we will embark on a journey together to reconnect with that child, tap into your intuition, and address the old wounds yet to be healed. And it is this very journey that will awaken the primal feminine power and deep spiritual connection within you. Stay with us, for you will not only understand why the child within is the source of the strength you've always sought, but also be guided on a path of rebirth. Are you ready? Number 1. The child within, the symbol of the archetype. In Carl Jung's world of symbols, the archetype of the child is not merely a childhood memory, nor is it the wounded part of you. It is a primal spiritual symbol representing beginnings, unformed potential, and the promise of rebirth. This child is not tied to biological age. It is a sacred image residing in the unconscious of all of us, transcending individuals, cultures, and eras. It embodies the incomplete, yet ever-growing part of every human soul. Jung described the archetype of the child as a dual entity, both small and omnipotent, both fragile and a symbol of indestructible vitality. It carries a sacred paradox. The child is entirely new, yet also the most ancient aspect of the human psyche. When it appears in dreams, myths, religions, or art, it is not merely an expression of innocence, but a symbol of primal cosmic energy, igniting a new cycle of life in the depths of the unconscious. If you examine the spiritual and mythological history of humanity, from Krishna in India to Horus in Egypt, to the Christ child in Christianity, you will see the divine child consistently emerging as a savior, a new light born amidst chaos. This is no coincidence. Jung believed the child is the central symbol of individuation, the journey each person must undertake to become their whole, authentic self. It represents the capacity for self-renewal, breaking free from old patterns, and opening a deeper form of existence. But the child does not live in the personal conscious mind. It resides in a deeper layer, the collective unconscious. This is the realm of archetypes, ancient images, symbols, and psychological patterns shared by all humanity, regardless of culture or era. The archetype of the child, therefore, is not just yours. It is the sacred seed existing in every human soul. When it appears in you, through dreams, symbols, or creativity, it is a moment when a profound part of humanity's spiritual universe speaks through you. We see this archetype not only in therapy or theory, but also vividly in everyday life, in moments when we feel out of control, yet are being guided by a deeper part of ourselves. forced to navigate a mystical world to find her parents and herself. Jung would not see these characters as mere figures, but as vivid expressions of the archetype of the child, conveying messages from the collective unconscious to the viewer's mind. In analytical psychology, the archetype of the child is the bridge between the personal subconscious and cosmic wisdom. When it speaks, it's not just a part of you stirring, it's the sacred depth of humanity rising within you. As Jung wrote, "The child is the symbol of the potentiality of the self." Collected Works, Volume 9, Part 1, The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. In other words, the child is a direct symbol of the self, the whole, unfragmented, unconditioned part of you. And this is what makes the child such a unique archetype. It does not represent powerlessness, but the capacity to regenerate the entire structure of the soul. When you begin to dream of it, see it, or feel its presence through emotions too complex to name, know that you are not alone. You are touching something older than your personal history, something seeking to come alive through you. According to Jung, the child also carries the breath of the future. Though rooted in the depths of the unconscious, it always points forward, representing the ability to rise above current circumstances, break old cycles, and open a new state of consciousness. This is why the archetype of the child is consistently linked to redemption, resurrection, or spiritual rebirth across civilizations. It is not a symbol of weakness, but an invitation to the sacred potential forming within you. A key point in Jung's thought: the archetype of the child does not appear to be understood. It appears to be felt and accompanied. So, if you're in a phase of transformation, feeling lost, facing an existential crisis, or sensing that old values no longer hold meaning, the archetype of the child may be emerging. Not to weaken you, but to activate your capacity for renewal, disruption, and creation. Jung once said, "The child is a symbol which unites the opposites, a mediator, a bringer of healing, that is, one who makes whole." When the child enters your mind, a profound transformation begins. The archetype of the child is the pulse of the collective unconscious within you. It represents the ability to reconnect the fragmented parts of your soul and is a symbol of inner wholeness and unity. But archetypes don't only live in myths or dreams, they express themselves through your everyday life. And sometimes, the way the child appears is not through sacred imagery, but through exhaustion, unexplained tears, or reactions that logic cannot explain. Number 2, the abandoned child. When a grown woman feels drained in relationships, lonely even among familiar faces, or reacts intensely to seemingly harmless situations, she often turns to self-blame. Maybe I'm too sensitive, or I'm so weak. But Carl Jung would say, no, that's not weakness. That's an echo from the depths, where a child within you is silently screaming, though no one hears it anymore. In the depth psychology of Jung, he affirmed that the human psyche is not a unified entity, but an inner ecosystem, containing forgotten parts once deemed ugly, weak, or unfit. One of the most ancient parts cast out of a woman's consciousness is that child of long ago, the archetype of the child carrying a primal wound. That child doesn't vanish. She retreats into a hidden corner of the unconscious, where time doesn't exist. There, she lives on, carrying the raw feelings of being abandoned, not good enough, and unworthy of love. And from that place, she quietly shapes how you feel, react, and love, not through the rational mind of an adult, but through unhealed emotional memories. Jung called the realm where this child resides the shadow. The part of the psyche holding everything you were taught was wrong or not allowed. You might think these things are small. However, a child's mind cannot distinguish between an adult's behavior and its worth. When rejected, the child doesn't understand that it's because the adult was tired, flawed, or lacked the skill to love. It only knows one thing: I'm not good enough to be loved. From that belief, a psychological map is drawn. To be loved, I must be perfect. To be myself, I will be abandoned. This is the unconscious root that causes so many women to lose themselves from a very young age. This wound doesn't disappear. It becomes a hidden script for living. You repeat relationships that hurt you, not because you enjoy suffering, but because your unconscious is trying to replay the old wound, hoping this time it will be healed. Jung called this unconscious repetition. You love someone cold, like the distant father of your past. You find yourself in judgmental work environments, mirroring how your mother once stifled your emotions. It's not a coincidence. It's the unhealed wound seeking to be seen. The most dangerous belief is that this is your fate, that you were born to be unloved, or that you're too complex for anyone to understand. But as Jung pointed out, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will no one allowed me to be sad. That very awareness begins to soothe the cries within. This doesn't happen in a single day, but the moment you dare to admit there's a part of me that's still hurting is the moment you reclaim ownership of your life. Healing isn't about erasing the past, but making peace with it. And the first step is daring to return, to face that abandoned child with the utmost honesty and gentleness you can offer. And when you're brave enough to sit with that child, another door begins to open, the door to the sacred feminine that has long been asleep within you. Number 3, the feminine power you long for. No one is born disconnected from their feminine essence. That energy was encoded within you long before you even had a concept of self, like a silent lighthouse in your soul, always guiding you toward the light of intuition, creativity, gentleness, receptivity, and a deep connection with life. It is the softness you don't need to learn, only to remember. But over the years, as the world began to demand that you take shape, that light gradually dimmed. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the molds imposed on women left you no room to breathe. You were taught to be strong, but not weak, to be beautiful, but not too different, to succeed, but not to shine too brightly. Each expectation was like a layer of artificial skin draped over your true form, forcing the primal feminine within you to retreat, not gone, but silent. It withdrew, making way for the armor forged from unacknowledged wounds. You became more rational, more controlled, more steadfast, but the more you became so, the further you drifted from the fluid softness that once was you. Carl Jung called this process a disconnection from the archetypal self, the place where the deepest part of your soul, the part carrying sacred feminine energy, is sealed away. It isn't dead, it is sleeping, and it quietly waits for you to return and awaken it. The feminine is a spiritual state. Jung defined it as the anima, the profound, gentle inner energy connected to emotions, intuition, and the unconscious. But for many women, the anima has been shrouded by fear. Fear of judgment, fear of being hurt, fear of being seen as weak. And when the little girl within is wounded, the feminine energy is the first to be locked away. A girl scolded for crying too much, mocked for being delicate, or laughed at for dreaming grows up learning to suppress emotions, hide her gentleness, and feel safe only when she is strong, rational, controlled. But at what cost? A severance from the very source of creativity, from the natural flow of her soul. Feminine energy is not about appearance or gender. It is a sacred power that lives in all of us. It is the part of your soul that receives love and flows with life rather than forcing it. It is the intuitive whisper saying, "Slow down, everything will fall into place." It is joy, sensuality, vulnerability, and the beauty of simply being. But for many women, this energy is suppressed early on. Perhaps you were taught that emotions are messy, softness is weakness, and that they make you too much or unworthy of desire. Perhaps you grew up in a world that praised achievement and logic while shaming intuition and sensitivity. And so, you learned to wear mental armor, but in doing so, you gradually disconnected from your body. No longer feeling the rhythm of your heart when moved, no longer hearing the voice in your chest when something feels wrong, no longer knowing when you're truly tired, hungry, or in need of an embrace. That is when the anima ceases to flow as a vibrant current and becomes a faint echo in a desert of rationality. Jung taught that the archetype of the child within is the root of our freedom, creativity, and emotional vitality. So, if you find it hard to relax, to enjoy joy without guilt, or to express your femininity without fear, you are not off course. You are simply blocked. You've been trying to survive in a world that demanded you abandon yourself. And now is the time to return, to heal the little girl within, and let her guide you back to the woman you were always meant to be. Imagine a small flame kindled in an ancient cave, not blazing, not consuming, but quietly radiating warmth. At first it is free. It knows no fear. It burns by instinct because that is its nature, alive, illuminating, transformative. But as the years pass, strange winds begin to blow into the cave. Some are gentle, some fierce, some cold from the hands of strangers placed upon the life of the girl carrying that flame. To keep burning, the flame must shrink, learning to shine less to avoid being extinguished. It learns to burn in silence, in hidden corners, within cages of rationality and roles. It begins to believe that if it burns too brightly, someone will get scorched. The feminine energy in a woman is like that flame, smoldering, sacred, needing no explanation in words. At times, it is the gentle light surrounding the heart. At times, it is the fierce heat blazing when you love, create, or live authentically. But then she buried that flame under layers of ash, the rules of being good. Feminine energy was stifled once more. The tragedy is that you thought you had grown up, become wiser, when in reality you were merely repeating a survival reflex from childhood, when the child within you learned to suppress to survive. If these words touch something deep within you, don't hesitate to leave a comment. It might be the first step toward giving voice to the feminine part, still waiting to be heard. Carl Jung didn't see reclaiming the feminine as a moral lesson, but as a spiritual task, reconnecting with your original soul through acceptance, compassion, and integrating the shadow. It is when you dare to sit with the parts once deemed weak, useless, or too emotional, and say, I see you. You have a right to exist. You are me. And when you do this, something miraculous happens. You begin to transform from within. You begin to feel. You begin to create. You begin to love without fear of loss. You no longer need to prove yourself to be recognized. You shine naturally from a source that never runs dry, the feminine essence that has been asleep within you for a long time. One of our followers, a longtime manager, once left a comment. She was often praised for being rational, calm, and empathetic. During a routine meeting, when a female employee burst into tears because she felt unheard. Her heart suddenly tightened. For reasons she couldn't explain, her throat closed up. She felt unsettled by the young woman's emotional outburst, and yet she also admired it. That evening, sitting quietly before a mirror, she realized, how long had it been since she allowed herself to be that vulnerable? She had always seen such emotions as weakness, but now, witnessing another woman cry so freely, she longed to do the same. That is the anima. No logic, no warning, but carrying a truth deeper than words. The anima appears in the music you listen to alone, and you feel choked up. In the reverie, you feel like watching light filter through leaves. In the weighty silence when you let go of all roles. And sometimes, the anima shines most clearly when you touch the pain you once buried. As if in that very crack, a gentle current begins to rise. The feminine is not born from perfection, but from the capacity to embrace imperfection. Jung described anima as a guide, and to be led by her, you must learn to step back from the harsh light of rationality and enter the dim realm where things can only be felt. It is no coincidence that ancient rituals, religious symbols, myths, or dreams often use the image of a woman to guide the spiritual journey. For that is the essence of the anima. The feminine is not about form, but about depth. The anima is a reminder that you don't need to fight to be loved, nor be perfect to be recognized. You were enough even when you were trembling. You are loved not despite your fragility, but because of it. That softness doesn't weaken you. It is where you connect with yourself and others. And when you begin to live again with that feminine essence, listening instead of controlling, feeling instead of rationalizing, you will find yourself standing before a deeper threshold, where not only the anima speaks, but the child within begins to whisper. That is when the journey of individuation truly begins. Number 4. The journey of individuation. No one truly matures without returning to face the child they left behind. Carl Jung called this the journey of individuation, the process of returning to yourself in wholeness, where every fragmented part of the soul is unified into a single living entity, the authentic self. At the heart of this journey lies not the triumph of the ego, but the reunion with the child within, the one who holds the key to the door leading back to your essence. In analytical psychology, Jung did not view humans as a linear structure that matures and leaves childhood behind. On the contrary, he asserted that the deeper you delve into yourself, the more you must return to the primal ground, where you were once a child full of emotions, instincts, intuition, and wounds. Not to relive the past, but to liberate the parts of your soul still trapped there. Individuation is not about adding something new, but about stripping away everything that does not belong to you. Borrowed beliefs, roles learned from the outside, and the shells you created to survive. It is when you confront your shadow, the parts of yourself you once rejected, and embrace them as part of your vitality. It is when the little girl within, the feminine essence once sealed away, and the memories that seemed insignificant, begin to be brought into the light of consciousness. Individuation does not take the form of radiant light, but is a journey downward and inward to the roots, facing wounds, making peace with the past, and learning to live with your entire being, both strength and weakness, both rationality and intuition, both darkness and light. Only when you integrate all these parts do you step out of a fragmented existence where you constantly strive to become someone else, and into a life of true authenticity, autonomy, and depth. Imagine the soul as a mirror shattered lightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Only when you dare to step into that darkness with honesty can you find the child still sitting there, waiting to be held, understood and recognized as part of you, not something to be discarded. Many fear that allowing the child to live again will make them weak and out of control. But the truth is that when you are unaware of it, it controls you the most. When you don't listen, you react instead of choosing. Only when consciousness touches the unconscious does the cycle of repetition stop, and the journey of individuation truly begins. Individuation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole when you no longer prune parts of yourself to be loved, reject the unfit pieces, but accept them all, like a multidimensional symphony. In this journey, the child within is the root note. Without it, yourself will always be out of tune. No matter how successful, no matter how recognized, you will still feel like you're living in a draft. Picture an ancient house with a room always locked. Everything else in the house is meticulously decorated, clean, and conforms to standards. But that room, though forgotten, is where your first drawing lies, the first doll you held, the first cry no one heard. Each time you pass by and ignore that door, a part of you freezes. Reuniting with the child within is when you take the key and open that door, not to stay there forever, but to integrate it into the house you live in now. Healing the child within is not just a practice, it is a homecoming, a courageous and radical act of self-love. This means every unhealed wound, every buried emotion, and every suppressed need will continue to echo in your relationships, choices, and sense of self-worth until you face them with compassion. You don't need to learn anything new. You only need to shed the layers built to hide the pain of the child within, not by reading another self-help book or practicing more skills, but by returning to where it all began, meeting the child within you, the one who carried your essence in its entirety before the world began to silence her. Here are a few effective practices to help you begin a dialogue with the child within. The first practice is to write a letter to your inner child. Place your hand on your heart, breathe slowly, and let yourself feel as if you're speaking to that little girl. Ask her, what are you feeling? Is there something you've never been able to say? And listen with your whole heart. Then, spend 5 to 10 minutes writing a letter to your inner child using your non-dominant hand. Let her speak as a living being. Afterward, use your dominant hand to write a reply as the steadfast mother you never had. At first, it may feel strange and awkward, as if someone else inside you is trying to say something. Let those imperfect words guide you back to your heart. The second practice is to rediscover childhood joys. Spend time doing something you loved as a child, or if you can't remember, engage in things you love now. Doodling, dancing without reason, standing in the rain, playing with clay, talking to imaginary friends. Let your body do something pointless, naturally. In that moment, you're not an adult playing, you're the child living again. This is how unconscious wisdom and mature consciousness communicate, allowing the child within you to live fully without needing permission. The third practice is to care for your body as you would a child. Return to your body as a sacred land. Instead of forcing yourself to be healthy, ask, if this were a child, how would I care for her? It might be a full night's sleep, a home-cooked meal, or a gentle touch when massaging your tired body. Don't just maintain health, live in it like a home. The body holds the memories of the child, and through it, you can guide your soul back home. These practices are not instant solutions. They are daily reminders that you deserve to be cherished because you always have. And as you persistently return, day after day, the flame of your soul, no matter how faint, will glow brighter bit by bit. You may have traveled far on the path of rationality, achievement, and adult roles. But there is a door you've never opened, the door to yourself. It's not at the end of a long road, but right where you stand. You only need the courage to pause, turn around, and knock with the most honest hands you have. For in the end, wholeness doesn't come from doing more, trying more, knowing more. It comes from daring to love again the part of you that was forgotten. That child is not just your past. It is the primal pulse of life within you, fragile, incomplete, but precisely because of that, brimming with potential. And once you embrace it, life will no longer be a stage where you strive to be accepted, but a real journey where you live, love, create, and exist as a whole human being. I sincerely thank you for joining me on this journey of awakening. If what I've shared helps you see the light guiding you back to the little girl within, urging your feminine energy to bloom, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications today. Have you ever looked at a smile and immediately known that it was not real? Or within just a few seconds of listening, felt that behind the sweet words lay layers of anxiety and pretense. There are people whose eyes seem to penetrate, who sometimes without effort can see through the things others try to hide. At first glance, it may appear to be a gift, a capacity for understanding, sharp intuition, a clarity that protects you from being deceived by appearances. But if you look deeper, you will realize the truth is more complex. For seeing too clearly not only brings clarity, it also carries a silent danger, the danger of perceiving what others do not want to be seen, and of voicing what the collective is not yet ready to accept. In today's video, we will dive into the danger of seeing what others cannot see through the lens of Carl Jung. And precisely within this dangerous territory, where loneliness and doubt loom, lies a secret door. The door that transforms the curse into power, that turns the eyes that see too clearly into a guiding light for growth and transformation. So are you ready? Ready to step into the territory most people avoid, to discover not only what others do not want to see, but also the hidden strength within you. Number 1. Excessive sensitivity and the penetrating gaze. There are people who, upon entering a room, don't need anyone to speak before they can feel the atmosphere present there. A forced smile, a fleeting glance, or the prolonged silence among those sitting together, all of it becomes signals they can read as though holding an open book. Yet, this ability is not always a gift. For many, it is a burden, a kind of knowing too much that leaves them isolated in a world accustomed to living on the surface. Carl Jung called this phenomenon differentiated perception, a refined awareness capable of distinguishing psychological details that most people overlook. In his clinical journals, Jung once recounted a striking case from 1913. His patient, a woman with a special ability, could walk into any room and instantly sense the psychological atmosphere enveloping it. In mere seconds, she could tell who was anxious, who was hiding fear, who was trying to cover fragility. For Jung, this was not a mental disorder, but a state of heightened consciousness. Yet society around her thought differently. People felt uncomfortable, as though exposed, and gradually distanced themselves. What was once an acute sensitivity turned into an invisible sentence: loneliness. At first you might think, if I were that sensitive, I'd be able to control everything around me better. But reality is not that simple. Those with the penetrating gaze often fall into overwhelm. Like a radio receiving signals too strongly, they don't just catch the desired melody, but also the static from every direction. This strength often leaves them tired, confused, unable to tell what belongs to their own emotions and what comes from others. A helpful image is that of a dark room. Most people only need a candle to illuminate enough, and thus they live peacefully amidst uncertainties. But for the sensitive, it's as if they always carry a torch. That light tears through the darkness, revealing every detail, every speck of dust others prefer to hide. And this clarity becomes the reason they are shunned. Because because it threatens the collective comfort zone. Remember school days. The child who was too quick, who answered too accurately, often became the target of jealousy, exclusion. Adults are no different. Anyone who sees ahead, sees too far, easily becomes the outsider. Yet the greater danger is internal. Those who are overly sensitive often fall into self-doubt. They wonder, am I imagining this? Am I too sensitive? Am I wrong to see these things? Gradually, that uncertainty erodes them, distancing them from their innate intuition, the very gift that is their natural strength. Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." This is exactly the plight of the sensitive. They see clearly, but cannot express. If you have ever experienced this, you will understand. Seeing too much is not always a blessing. It is a double-edged sword, offering clarity while opening the door to isolation. It grants you the ability to understand others, yet places you in a position where they may never understand you. And this is the first danger of seeing what others cannot see. Too much awareness can make you a stranger in the very world you live in. So what about you? Have you ever felt that you saw things others did not want seen, and that very fact made you feel isolated? Share your story in the comments. Perhaps your experience will become encouragement for someone else learning to live with their own too clear gaze. Number 2. Participation mystique, when you see the collective shadow. The danger of sensitivity does not stop at the individual level, the penetrating gaze that perceives hidden emotions in others. Even more frightening is when intuition pulls you to a deeper layer. You begin to sense the atmosphere of an entire group, as though hearing invisible voices from the collective unconscious. Carl Jung called this state participation mystique, a concept borrowed from anthropologist Levi Bruhl. It is the condition where the individual is no longer separate from the community, but becomes absorbed, resonating with the collective unconscious. In participation mystique, you don't just feel the worry of the person in front of you, you perceive the anxiety overshadowing the entire group. You don't just notice awkwardness in one sentence. You feel the entire atmosphere is cloaked in falseness, and here the danger begins. Because once you see the collective shadow, it is nearly impossible to pretend ignorance. Yet if you speak it, you risk becoming the bearer of bad news, the one the group avoids. Jung emphasized that the personal unconscious is never separate from the collective unconscious. Each of us is like a drop of water in the ocean of shared psyche, which holds fears, memories, and the shadow of humanity itself. In The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Jung wrote, "The collective unconscious is inherited. It consists of pre-existent forms, the archetypes, which can only become conscious secondarily. Ordinary people rarely touch this layer, living only on the surface. But those with powerful intuition, especially those modern psychology calls highly sensitive people, HSPS, easily tune in and resonate with the collective energies." Elaine Aron, the first to coin the term HSP, showed that about 20% of the population has high nervous sensitivity. They are easily overwhelmed by noise, crowds, or collective tension. Meanwhile, Jung had long observed that a much smaller fraction, about 1%, could even perceive the collective shadow. These are people with such strong introverted intuition that they not only sense individual emotions, but also touch the undercurrents of society itself. A helpful metaphor If an individual's psyche is like a glass of water, then collective life is an ocean. Ordinary people only drink from their own glass, rarely sensing anything beyond it. But the sensitive have a direct pipeline to the ocean. They don't just sip from their glass. They are swept into the tides of the vast sea. This is both a gift and a danger. In reality, many HSPs report disliking crowded parties not because they dislike socializing, but because they feel flooded by collective energy. While others only see a lively gathering, they perceive layers of emotions stacked atop one another. Anxiety, pressure, envy, fear of judgment. For them, the crowd feels like a crashing wall of waves, leaving them defenseless. The danger lies in speaking out. In a society fond of positive illusions, who wants to hear that behind the laughter lies fear? Who wants to face that their group is divided? Thus, instead of being valued, the one who sees is often sidelined, labeled pessimistic, negative, even disruptive. I once heard the story of a young woman in media. During a strategy meeting, everyone eagerly proposed bold ideas, painting a bright future for the project. But she clearly sensed unease in the room. No one truly believed in the plan. She bravely voiced, "I think we are ignoring critical risks." Silence fell. The director frowned. Colleagues exchanged awkward looks. Later she was told to keep the atmosphere positive instead of bringing heavy things. 6 months later, the project most strongly to what reflects the part of ourselves we don't want to face. Carl Jung called this the phenomenon of projection. When someone irritates us, what we see in them is often the shadow hiding within ourselves. Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But instead of pausing to self-reflect, people usually choose the easier path: denial, rejection, and throwing their own shadow onto others. This makes highly sensitive people, those who see too clearly, uncomfortable mirrors. They need not do much. Sometimes just their presence makes others feel exposed. Imagine someone looking in a mirror and noticing a stain on their face. The natural reaction should be to wash it. But for many, that is too difficult. So they choose instead to smash the mirror. In life, you are that mirror, the one reflecting what others are not ready to face. I once heard a story about a group of close friends who regularly gathered for dinner. In the group was a woman, sharp and perceptive, who could easily detect the layers of emotion beneath jokes. One evening, while the group was laughing and chatting, someone kept joking about another member's recent professional failure. The table burst out laughing, treating it as harmless fun. But she saw something else. The teasing was not simply for humor, but a way of masking the joker's own insecurity about his career path. She gently mentioned it, and the atmosphere instantly turned heavy. The man felt exposed, reacted with anger and denial. Afterward, he distanced himself from her, even whispering to others that she was too nosy and killed the mood. In truth, she had done nothing but reflect his hidden fear back to him, but rather than face it, he projected it onto her, labeling her as the problem. In his eyes, she became the issue, when all she had done was serve as a mirror for what he didn't want to acknowledge. This is the dangerous essence of projection. Others do not thank they are convinced the problem lies in you. This confidence makes it nearly impossible to defend yourself. When a group, or even a single person, agrees that you are the problem, your explanation is like a cry in the desert. Thus arises the paradox. You are turned into the scapegoat, bearing what never belonged to you. In ancient cultures, the scapegoat carried all sins before being cast out, so the community could feel cleansed. Today, the same psychological mechanism continues, only the scapegoat may be a friend, a family member, or even you. When someone cannot endure the mirror, they collectively assign their darkness to you. And the tragedy is this: the more truthful you are, the more likely you are targeted. Many sensitive people share similar experiences. They walk into a conversation and the energy shifts. Not because they said something wrong, but because their presence or an innocent remark mirrored truths others didn't want exposed. Some people avoid them, others react with hostility. But the common thread is this: very few welcome the mirror with gratitude. Jung emphasized that recognizing the shadow is crucial for growth, yet not everyone is willing to walk that path. Most prefer the easier solution, turning another into the villain so they can preserve their illusion of purity. This is why those who see clearly often face discomfort, pushback, even attack. They did nothing wrong, yet they reflect what others run from. And this is the third danger of seeing what others cannot. You become a mirror of the shadow, and that mirror is rarely welcomed. People need it to understand themselves, but they fear it because it forces them to face truth. And you, unintentionally, become the target of what was never yours. Have you ever been reacted against simply because you saw what someone else wanted hidden? If so, leave a comment with the words, "I have seen what was hidden." Let it stand as a sign that you are brave enough to enter the land of truth, where not everyone dares to go. Number 4. The price of isolation. When a mirror is too clear, too bright, it not only reflects honestly, but also forces people to face themselves. As we saw in the previous part, not everyone has the courage to confront truth. The inevitable result is that the but the separation was obvious. To them, she was like the one ruining the mood, pulling away the curtain everyone preferred intact, and so, without any explicit blame, she was pushed outside the circle. This silent exclusion hurt more than words. It made her feel invisible, as if she belonged nowhere. This is the true price of isolation. Not only being misunderstood, but losing the sense of belonging, the invisible thread that binds us to community. It is a quiet pain, but persistent. Like an instrument out of tune in an orchestra, beautiful alone, but disrupting the whole harmony, the group often chooses to remove the instrument rather than learn to adjust. Isolation also creates a dangerous cycle. The more excluded a sensitive person feels, the more they withdraw, losing chances to validate their intuition. From there, self-doubt grows, even denial of their gift just to belong. But in denying, they lose their authenticity, and loneliness deepens. Jung once wrote, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." In this sense, isolation is a silent hell the sensitive must walk through. The greatest pain of isolation is not merely being pushed away, but not finding a soul language companion, someone who understands and resonates at their depth. The sensitive are like birds singing in a different key in a forest full of familiar cries. Their song is not wrong, even beautiful, but it is met with indifference or discomfort because it doesn't match the chorus. Thus, they fall into the paradox: the more perceptive they are, the harder they are to be understood. It is the loneliness of carrying a different frequency, not silenced, but unheard. Imagine standing in the middle of a lively party, surrounded by laughter, knowing it is all a mask. You want to speak the truth, but know that if you do, the party will collapse and you'll be seen as the destroyer. So you remain silent. Yet in that silence, you feel you belong neither to the party nor to yourself. Isolation, therefore, is not just physical or social distance. It is a spiritual fracture when you see clearly but cannot share, when you long for connection, but your clarity becomes the very reason you are excluded. This is one of the deepest dangers of seeing what others cannot. You become not only the different one, but also the lonely one. Number 5. The fragility of identity. There is a silent pain that those who see too much often face. Not only are they misunderstood by others, but they begin to doubt themselves. Constantly seeing what others deny, they fall into questions. Am I imagining this? Am I too sensitive? Am I wrong? Slowly, identity, once stable, becomes fragile, like frosted glass that can shatter with a single crack. Carl Jung emphasized that the unconscious is filled not only with shadows, but also illusions. The more sensitive you are, the more you touch this depth, but also the more easily you are drawn into confusion between true intuition and imagined projection. This is the danger zone, when you're no longer sure if you are really seeing or only imagining. In that precarious space, identity, the sense of who I am, becomes most fragile. Picture a compass. Normally, it always points north, offering the bearer a sense of safety. But if placed in a chaotic magnetic field, the needle spins endlessly, losing accuracy. Sensitive people are like this. Once trusting their intuitive compass, but with constant denial from the outside, the needle begins to shake. And in that trembling, they ask, "Is my compass broken?" Out of this wobbling comes another mechanism: internal gaslighting, dimming your own inner truth out of fear it may be false. Unlike gaslighting by others, internal gaslighting happens when you strip away your own faith in intuition. This is the tragedy of those who see too much, not only denied by others, but eventually denying themselves. In his journals, Jung recorded many patients in this state. They did not seek him because of exclusion, but because they no longer trusted themselves. Layers of doubt eroded their faith in intuition, the very gift that defined them. One patient confessed she always sensed dishonesty in her husband's words, but after constant denial, she convinced herself she was imagining things until she couldn't tell intuition from paranoia. And it was this doubt, not the lies, that broke her. I know an artist who went through the same. Sensitive and perceptive, she easily detected tensions in relationships. During group gatherings, she sensed that one member's friendliness was merely a mask-hiding competition. At first, people brushed it off, calling her too paranoid, but eventually they began to see her as suspicious and overthinking. Repeated reactions left her shaken. She no longer knew if she truly saw what was happening, or if she was projecting her own insecurity. What had once been her strength, refined intuition that fueled her art and deep connection, became a burden. The more she was denied, the more she lost faith in her inner eyes. And as faith waned, after walking through this fragile land where identity can crack under a dismissive glance or careless word, the greatest question is, how not to drown? Is there a way to transform the too clear vision so that it ceases to be a curse and becomes a gift used wisely? Jung reminded us that psychological maturity lies not in banishing the shadow, but in reconciling with it. And at that intersection, the path of transformation opens. One essential skill for the sensitive is discernment. Many do not realize what belongs to them and what comes from others. A friend's sadness suddenly weighs on their chest. The tension of a group presses on them as if it were theirs. To escape this, they need an invisible boundary, a mental line clear enough to ask, does this really belong to me? That simple question allows them to return what isn't theirs to the world and keep only what is authentically their own. But discernment is only half. The other half lies in choice. Those with the penetrating gaze often believe that seeing requires speaking, as if they must expose the truth immediately. But truth, like a seed, sprouts only in the right season, in the right soil. A truth revealed too soon can cut like a knife, wounding rather than healing. Seeing does not mean you must always say. Sometimes silence is wisdom. Along this path, kindred souls become anchors. The sensitive often feel lost in environments that cannot value their subtleties. Yet finding even a few kindred spirits, those who also listen to the invisible, who do not fear the shadow, dissolves the loneliness. Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." When two real souls meet, they don't just resonate, they transform one another. Another challenge is turning the gaze inward. Sensitive people are used to spotting the shadow in others, but often avoid their own. Some things they assume are intuition are only projections of their unhealed unconscious. True courage is sitting with your own fear, envy, or wound, asking, "What I see in them, does it reflect my own fear?" That is how you distinguish pure intuition from illusion. Finally, it is about learning to trust. Trusting intuition doesn't mean blind faith, but accepting it as part of you, like reason or emotion. When you stop resisting it, stop labeling it a curse, intuition becomes a reliable companion. It doesn't lead you to loneliness, but back to yourself, where you can stand firm, even if the outside world doesn't yet understand. These lessons may sound abstract, but in practice, they create transformation. I recall a therapy session where a middle-aged woman shared her story. After years of being dismissed as too sensitive, she began applying these principles. One evening, among friends, she sensed the tension beneath the laughter. Instead of pointing it out, she stayed silent, observing, and whispered to herself, "This isn't mine. I don't have to carry it." That night, she wrote in her journal, processing what she felt and leaving it on the page rather than in her heart. After months of practice, she returned to therapy saying she felt entirely different. She was no longer swept into others' fears or anxieties. She knew when to stay silent, when to share, and most importantly, she had found a small circle of friends who valued her sensitivity. "For the first time in years," she said, "I feel my ability to see is no longer a burden, but a natural part of me." Her story proves this. The path from danger to strength is not about abandoning the gift, but learning to live with it. As Jung stressed, wisdom does not lie in seeing all, but in knowing how to live with what you see. And once you learn this, the too clear gaze ceases to be a curse, becoming instead a guiding light for you, and sometimes for those brave enough to walk with you into the dark. Like someone carrying a lantern through the forest, the light cannot erase all darkness, but it illuminates the next steps. The sensitive are the same. They cannot bear the world's whole truth, but they can learn to keep their own lantern burning. Used wisely, that light not only protects them, but sometimes guides the lost towards safety. And perhaps the greatest gift of seeing too much is not knowing more than others, but having the ability to choose when to shine the light and when to walk quietly. For only in this balance can you truly turn the curse into strength. A quiet but steady power that nourishes you and the few souls destined to meet you. Those who see what others cannot are like ears too finely tuned in an orchestra. While everyone is enchanted by the seemingly perfect harmony, they detect a single off note. That note is not loud, not disruptive, but it exists, and its very existence unsettles them, reminding them that beneath perfection lie distortions waiting to be faced. Thus, seeing too much is both a gift and a danger. It sets you apart, sometimes leaves you isolated, yet also opens the door to discernment, maturity, and the transformation of clarity into inner strength. For as Jung